I can see the future of gaming in my mind's eye. Welcome back, everyone. 2025 was a wild year for gaming. I think there were games that were some of the best games I've maybe ever played in my life, and also some games that were the worst I've ever played in my life. It was pretty wild. Overall, I would say I think it was mostly a great year just because there was so much going on that was actually insanely good. And we also saw some indie games really climb up to the top of the ranks. In fact, I have a few indie games on my list, although depending on, I guess, some people's definition of indie, I'm sure. But for me, I would consider these to be indie games, and that is pretty exciting to me that we're seeing a rise of indie games just taking over and being recognized for doing things that AAA games are simply sometimes too afraid to do. And indie games also tend to be focused on experience, making sure everyone's having a good time, having fun playing. Whereas lately, I feel like some AAA games have been more focused on just making that money, and that's about it. To be honest, you could make a game that's fun and it will also make you money. And I would say that actually applies to the game that is at the bottom of my top video games of 2025, and that is Dispatch, a game that I loved dearly. My goodness. In fact, we're going to go back on stream and play it one more time. I played it once. I played it twice, where I also did a closet cosplay of one of my favorite characters in all of Dispatch. And that, of course, is, you may have guessed it, Sonar, as voiced by one of the best actors of our time, of course, Charlie, who you may recognize from The Hunger Games, prominently featured. Dispatch is a wonderful game because the writing is just really fun. The dialogue is really snappy. It's really funny. And it's also a really touching game. It also allows us to examine the idea of what it means to be a hero through a bit of a different lens. It's a bit of a more real world approach to what heroes would be like, with the idea of us running a dispatch as a fallen hero who is trying to send out other heroes to these calls. And the idea that heroes are kind of almost like a super powered police force who goes around and helps people, although helps people that are maybe subscribed to the service, which I think is an interesting element, and made me for a while think that with Dispatch, perhaps the corporation we worked for was evil, but that is not the way that this game went. Instead, it went to some other places, and my favorite thing about it is that you get to decide where it goes because it is a choose your own adventure style game where your decisions affect the way the game plays out. Now, granted, it is still linear, and some people had some problems with that. I did not. I think obviously there's got to be, especially if you want to do any more games in this universe, there has to be some major plot points that we hit so that we can refer to those in the next game and not have a game that is impossibly large to make. So I didn't mind that it was a bit linear, but within the linear story, I think there is a lot that you can do to affect the world around you, the relationships of the characters, both to each other and to Robert, who is the character you play as, formerly known as Mecha Man. I think that this is a really just inspiring game. It is a game that is brought to us by some of the people that used to work at Telltale, some of the people that used to work at Ubisoft, coming together and giving us, Dispatch. Dispatch, it was just a lovely time. And I think the voice acting in it is also really, really great. I hope we get a sequel, but for me, that was one of my top games. It made me laugh. It made me cry. Next up, we have a game that probably no one guessed would be on my list. I feel like if you guessed that this was on my list, you've probably watched all of my streams this year, because I think you'd have to do that to really understand how much this game impacted me. This is a game about digging a hole, which is, yes, the name of this game. Now, I won't deny that part of the reason I think why this is ranked higher than Dispatch for me is because at the time I was playing this game, I was not feeling great emotionally. I was feeling pretty terrible, to be honest with you. And I jumped on and decided to do this late night stream where I was just like, you know what? I have this game. I've been meaning to play it. I've been hearing everyone play it. I've been hearing it's an amazing experience. I guess let's dig a hole. And that's really what the game is. You dig a hole in a backyard. And I don't want to say much else about it because I feel like if you haven't played it yet, you need to just experience it for yourself. I don't want to ruin what comes from that and the roller coaster of a ride you're setting yourself up for and what the game maybe is really about. Because I think to talk about that would ruin the experience if you haven't played it. So I'm going to leave it there, but I am going to say it is an experience unlike any other I think I've ever had in a video game, based on both my emotional state, but also based on just the way that the game unfolds and how addicting it is, how oddly fun digging a hole can be. That's the magic of games. They can make weird, mundane stuff like digging a hole fun if you design them well enough. Moving right along, we have my first ever game that I played within this franchise, which is probably crazy to people, and that is Kirby and the Forgotten Land Starcross World, the Switch 2 edition, which while Kirby and the Forgotten Land came out before, I figured I could still include this one because it does come with Starcross. It is the Switch 2 edition, and they did add, I believe, quite a bit to the game. Granted, I haven't played the original release, so if you disagree with that, you can let me know in the comments and let me know why. Totally cool. Like I said, this is my first Kirby game. I've never played a Kirby game before. Judge me if you want. And all I will say is this game is delightfully fun. I think something that I love the most about it is just all the different forms that you can be as Kirby. I loved when I got to eat the car and then I got to be Car Kirby. That's one of my favorite versions of Kirby. This game is so delightful and I really need to go back and finish it. It's just such a fun platforming experience, like a 3D platformer that I think allows you to think about gameplay in a different way. And maybe that's something that Kirby has always had, but for me, it was my first experience and I really enjoyed it. The only other time I think I've played as Kirby is in Smash Bros. So yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Starcross World. That's where I'm at. Next up is a game that I do have yet to finish, I will admit. And the ending of this game could make or break it. But based on what I've played so far, and I've put quite a few hours into it, I will say Silent Hill F is my second favorite game of this year that came out. That's a new release. It is addictive, is what I would say. I love the sound design in this game. I love the world building in this game. I love the creature design. I love the themes that we explore. I love how it's kind of a bit of feminist horror is what it feels like. The idea of examining these different gender roles, the fact that it's set in Japan. I don't mind that Silent Hill is coming to a different place. I think that Silent Hill, for me, I've always understood the concept of it as it's more of a place that you go to in your mind. Like Silent Hill is a place that we put ourselves. It's like the idea of hell. You know, hell exists because we feel we need it to exist, because we have shame, because we have things we feel we need to be punished for. And to me, that's what Silent Hill kind of represents in terms of the psyche. Now, granted, there is also a ton of lore about the creation of Silent Hill, and it is a specific place. So for people that feel that Silent Hill has to be that specific place, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from, the psychological aspect. And I think the psychological aspect is so well done in this game. It messes with your mind in really cool and disturbing ways, and my goodness, is it terrifying. Also, it feels a little Souls-like. Now, granted, I haven't played a ton of Souls games, but this is a game that made me realize that maybe that is something that I don't mind. Hard combat where I have to actually try and dodge and parry and you know, just put more effort into my combat. And that is why the next game on my list, which was my favorite game of this year, probably won't come as a surprise. It's probably most people's favorite game that played it. And that is, of course, Expedition 33, which I have been playing through currently. I played it right before the Game Awards, and I'm continuing to play it because I really want to finish this game because I am obsessed. I know I said I'm obsessed with Silent Hill. I know I'm obsessed with all of the games that are really here in this video that I'm highlighting, but this game, I'm really obsessed with it. And it is not just because of the gameplay, but the gameplay is so fun. The strategy of it harkens back to my love of card-based strategy games, both in the tabletop sphere and in the video game sphere. And it also just reminds me of intense and amazing strategy games that I've played in general. I am very much a board gamer, and you can probably guess from the fact that there are many board games featured in my background, and that's not even close to the amount of board games I own. I think I own over 200 at this point, but I really love board games and the strategy that is required to play those games. And this year has really made me realize just how similar board games and video games are, and how a lot of the times our understanding of one relates very closely to our understanding of another, because at the end of the day, game mechanics are just game mechanics. And Expedition 33 is playing with game mechanics in such a fun and unique way that I feel to not give it the top spot would be just a blatant lie to you all. And I know it's typical of me to put it in this place, and I know it might seem basic, but there it is. Also, the voice acting in this game is amazing, and the music and the visuals. This game is art. This game is art, okay? And that brings me to the worst game of the year, which is not art at all, and that is Mindseye. I want to say thank you so much to my community for funding this game for me. This was a gift from Jamie. Thank you, Jamie, for giving me this game. And I did have a lot of fun playing, but not in the same way that I've had fun with the other games here, because this game is abysmal. Every element of the design, the story, the layout, the driving. Oh my God, the driving is horrendous in this game. The world is so empty. It doesn't look good. It's got a lot of glitches. Yeah. But you know, they say they're going to do an update for it and they're going to fix everything, and then this game is going to be peak. So come back to this video when that happens and you can tell me all about it if you're a Mindseye fan. You can say, ha, joke's on you. Now it's the best game of the year. Oh my gosh, if they end up fixing this game to the point that it's better than Expedition 33, I don't know what I'll do. I will literally leave this planet for Mars, because that would be absolutely insane if that happened. Yeah, Mindseye was pretty bad, but it was a fun time to play, I will say. And the good news is, although I have other games that were near the bottom of my rankings for the year in terms of the games that I played, none of them were low enough for me to consider them as the worst game, because they weren't bad. They just weren't as good as the best of the best. So that's really all I have to say here. I am going to be doing an extended video for my members, so if you want to know the next 5 games underneath the ones I just talked about that were my favorites that came out this year, you can check that out. I also went back and played some older games for the first time that I've never played before, and those games were so amazing. I want to honor a few of them, even though they didn't come out in 2025. Because like I said, I also don't really have a lot to say about bad games. I mostly played good games this year. What a terrible problem to have. That being said, if there were crazy, janky, weird, bad games this year that you played, that you think I would enjoy playing, that I would have fun, because I do love a little bit of garbage every now and then. I think it keeps us humble as gamers and allows us to appreciate the good games we have. And it can also be like fun in a goofy, silly way. I had a lot of fun playing Gollum, and that game is terrible. So let me know some of the games that you really despised this year. And if you think they're at least fun enough for me to get a few chuckles out of them, let me know down in the comments. I'll see you down there. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And let me know your favorite games as well down in the comments. And if you missed my thoughts on the best and worst movies of the year, You should check that out. It might surprise you.